On this episode of Science with Shields, we are going to be mad scientists. Mwahaha.
We are beautiful science, compliance, baby, you and me, a cosmic alliance, defiance.
Hi everyone, it is Christy Shields, and on this episode of Science with Shields, we are going to make some witch's brew. So what do you need for this experiment? You can use a beaker or a water bottle will also work for this experiment. We're going to be using hydrogen peroxide that you can find in your first aid kit or anywhere that you have hydrogen peroxide. You can get this at the drugstore or also at the grocery store. We're going to be using active yeast. So we have active yeast packets. You'll need some warm water, dish soap, and to make our witch's brew, we're going to need some green food coloring. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill our beaker up with some hydrogen peroxide. So let's stick that in now. All right. So we have the hydrogen peroxide now in our beaker. So the next thing we want to add is some dish soap. This is going to make the reaction even bigger. So let's add our dish soap. And of course we said this is witch's brew. So we are going to add some green food coloring in to make our witch's brew green. So I'm going to swirl this around for a second to get that all good here. All right, check it out. Ooh, okay, so that is half of the witch's brew. The next thing we need is some warm water, which I already have here. And I'm going to take another container. So I'm going to sit my beaker aside. And in this container, I'm going to measure out a teaspoon of the yeast. We're going to stick this in this container. So hopefully I can measure this pretty well. All right, we have our yeast. We're going to stick it in. And the next thing we want to do is measure out 2 tablespoons of warm water to mix with the yeast. So put this in, 1 and 2. All right, and then it's really helpful if you have a spoon and you can mix this all together. We're gonna mix this up. All right, and now we are ready for our reaction to happen. So we're going to stick the yeast into the mixture of hydrogen peroxide and also soap. And what happens is hydrogen peroxide likes to release oxygen. So when we add this yeast, it's going to make the reaction go quicker. And it's going to be an exothermic reaction. So what does that mean? Exothermic means that it releases heat as this happens. So let's try it out. You guys ready? Here we go. Pour this in and watch the reaction happen. Ooh, we've got our spooky witch's brew. Again, hydrogen peroxide, once it gets going, it gets activated, it likes to release oxygen. You add in the yeast, which is a live culture, and it makes it go quicker. We've got all of that happening, plus the soap, which creates bubbles, and you get this fun green foam or witch's brew because of this exothermic reaction. If you'd like to check out more Science with Shields episodes, head over to WTAJ+.